In 1956, shockwaves spread around the world and in the Christian community as people learned of the news that 5 missionaries died at the hand of the tribe that they were trying to reach with the gospel. Elisabeth Elliot, the wife of one of the missionaries, Jim Elliot, writes an incredible account in the book Through Gates of Splendor. And this is our featured book for today and for the week. And I've written a blog on why you might want to pick up a copy of Through Gates of Splendor. You can see that in the description box. But I'm quickly going to describe to you why this book has really inspired so many people. Through Gates of Splendor was first published by Tyndale Momentum in 1957. It got a 4.4 on Goodreads and a 4.8 on Amazon at the time of recording. And there was also a movie made of this book called End of the Spear. At the time that the missionaries and their families moved to the jungles of Ecuador, they knew the tribe as Orca. That was what the surrounding tribes called this specific tribe of South Americans. Nobody even knew what the Orca referred to themselves as. Orca means naked savage because the people of that tribe used to walk around with very little clothes. It was only later that they discovered that the tribe's name is the Wawarani. The Wawarani were an incredibly savage tribe that operated on principles of revenge and killed at the slightest provocation in order to protect themselves. Through Gates of Splendor gives some insight into just how dangerous this tribe was, so dangerous that nobody wanted to reach out to them and nobody wanted to interact with them. All other interactions thus far had failed miserably and ended in many deaths. Even though the missionaries were consistently warned not to make any contact with the Waorani, they pursued and felt that this was the tribe that God was calling them to reach. As Elisabeth Elliot writes through Gates of Splendor, she uses extracts from the men's diaries to show just how passionate they really were and how much they really did believe that this was their calling. To bring the gospel of Jesus Christ to a people who had never ever heard of him before. Paul says in one of his letters, "I count all things as loss for the sake of knowing Jesus Christ." He also says that he runs in such a way to win the prize. These are some of the verses that the men use to describe the passion that they had for bringing the gospel to the Wawarani. Although the men made many steps to try and build a friendship before meeting the Wawarani face to face, they were finally murdered by a group of Wawarani. They did have guns with them to defend themselves just out of safety, but they did not use these guns against the tribe. How did the missionary wives handle this? How did they handle the idea of the men who so believed that this was the calling of God and that this was what they wanted to do with their lives, were actually murdered at the hand of the people that they were trying to befriend? The wives were actually filled with incredible grace and incredible comfort and peace. As they mourned the loss of their husbands, they knew that their husbands were following and being obedient to the will of God for their lives. They submitted themselves to God's sovereign will. This is what Barbara, one of the wives, has to say. "I wrote a letter to the mission family, trying to explain the peace I have. I want to be free of self-pity. It is a tool of Satan to rot away life. I'm sure that this is the perfect will of God. Many will say, why did Rog get mixed up in this? When his work was with Jivaros. Jivaros was another tribe that Roger Yudarian was reaching out to. Because Rog came to do the will of him that sent him. The Lord has closed our hearts to grief and hysteria and filled in with his perfect peace." After the incident, some of the missionaries' wives decided to continue the work of their husbands. Eventually, the Waorani tribe did get to hear of the work of Jesus Christ. As the good news of the gospel spread throughout the tribe, the homicide rates dropped by 90%, where before, as I mentioned, 6 out of every 10 deaths among adults were because of murder. This story continues to touch many, many hearts. It is truly a beacon for obedience to the Great Commission and a passion for glory for Jesus. Elisabeth Elliot herself, the author of this book, continues to minister all around the world and has written many books about her faith in Jesus. I just love biographies because I love to learn about the work of God's love in other people's hearts. And we did do one other biography on this channel already, and that was The Cross and the Switchblade. But if you have any biographies that you'd like to recommend to this channel, please do leave it in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video, and happy reading.